I'm a Californian, and if you ask me, well, how do I make that claim? I'll just tell you I was born and raised in California. But if you ask me the difficult questions about, when was California established, or how many counties are in California, or what's the California state bird or state tree, or how do you pass a law in California? Well, you'd find out pretty quickly that I'm a pretty crummy Californian. I think at times in the church, those of us who call ourselves Christians are kind of Christians the way I'm a Californian. We were born and raised here, and you couldn't deny the fact we are Christians, but don't ask us too many important questions. Most of my life, I've been a pretty committed atheist, and at 35, I started to take a really hard look at whether or not the scripture was telling me the truth about Jesus. I worked as a detective, and I was working on a surveillance team at the time, and I had friends that were cops, and they wanted me to become a Christian, and they shared what they believed with me. And I discovered pretty quickly that these folks in their professional lives were incredibly evidential and rational and thoughtful case makers. They could give you 5 reasons why that bad guy we're working is responsible for those robberies. But if I asked them for 5 reasons why I could trust the Bible, suddenly took an entirely different approach to their large picture, big metaphysical picture. The claims of Christianity they couldn't answer the same way they could answer whether or not that guy is our robbery suspect. And I thought to myself, really? You want me as an atheist to jump from this kind of rational view of the world where I can make cases evidentially into a way of living in which I can't even use evidence? I don't even think of things that way anymore? I can't do it. I can't turn my brain off in order to join you. A number of years ago, I got called out to an officer-involved shooting scene. I was working on my homicide team, and sure enough, we have to investigate officer-involved shootings too. And when I got there, the officer explained to me how he got in a gun battle. He said he pulled over a car for drunk driving. And as he walked up in the car, he could smell alcohol coming out of the window. So he asked the driver of the car to get out of the car to do what he calls an FST. We all call it that. It's his field sobriety test. And as soon as the gentleman got out of the car, he wanted to conduct a routine pat-down search before he started the FST, just to make sure this guy's not carrying any weapons. But this guy was carrying a weapon. As a matter of fact, he had a .45 caliber handgun in his waistband underneath his shirt. This guy had just been released from jail for an assault. Now, as a parolee, he had a gun in his waistband. The officer, not knowing this, told him to turn around and face away from him so he could start the pat-down. The suspect in this case decided to make a decision. He knew that if he was caught with the gun in his waistband, he would do a year in jail, just for possession of the gun. So he had to make a decision that night about whether he was going to go back to jail for a year or kill the officer. So he turned around after facing away from the officer and turned around and faced the officer, only about maybe 5 feet apart, and he pointed his handgun directly at the officer. The officer was completely off guard. As a matter of fact, he didn't even have his own hand on his gun, as now he's facing down the barrel of the suspect's gun. But he was wearing his bulletproof vest. So he stood there and he decided, given all my options, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trust my vest, and I'm going to tense up my stomach muscles, and I'm going to take the first couple of rounds while I get ready to return fire. Now think about that for a second. Once you know that the vest can stop rounds, and if you know that the vest can stop rounds, you're far more likely to stand tall in that vest in a point of challenge. So here's my question for you. Do you know enough about your Christian worldview to know that it can stop bullets? Have you tested it? Have you allowed the bullets to hit the vest? Have you listened to the objections of atheists? Have you listened to the objections of those who don't believe Christianity is true? And are you prepared with the answer? Confidence is not free. Confidence comes at the end of an intellectual investigation that requires an intellectually robust form of Christianity. Yes, you might hold that Christianity is true today accidentally. You don't even know why it's true. But you don't have to hold it that way. I think there are people out there who are unbelievers who think that if only Christians would be exposed to the evidence, they would no longer be Christians. What if that's wrong? What if, in fact, the more you're exposed to the evidence, the more confident you would be in your Christian worldview? Look, I make no apology about being a Christian because I know I can dig as deep as I want into the evidence, and I'm not going to scare myself away from what I believe. I'm going to become more certain of what I believe. Don't be afraid to dig deep into the evidence because you'll have the same kind of confidence as a result of that investigation.